All right. Hello, everybody. So happy to be leading this conversation. We have Leah and Vanessa. My name is Dominique Mass. I'm the founder of Group Coaching HQ, along with Maribel Alaman. Unfortunately, she can't be with us. We're very excited about our next cohort coming up. But for now, we're extremely excited to have two of our previous participants join the call. And we have Leah and Vanessa. So I'm going to introduce you both, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Leah is a transformational coach and certified intuitive eating counselor dedicated to empowering individuals to pursue their passions and to thrive. With a background in creative arts, psychotherapy, treating eating and mood disorders, Leah creates a coaching experience characterized by compassion, collaboration, and creativity, and I can attest to this. Leah supports her coaching clients to manifest their unique talents, skills, and purpose while cultivating joy and fulfillment in their lives. As a holistic, non-diet coach, her practice is appropriate for girls and women longing to become intuitive eaters and to embrace movement for well-being and body respect. Leah is a health at every size helping professional committed to promoting safety, respect, and access to healthcare services for people of all sizes and shapes. She lives in Woodstock, Vermont, and works virtually everywhere. Her coaching practice focuses on individual and group coaching for adolescents and adults. Welcome, Leah. So happy to have you here. And our next panelist is Vanessa. Vanessa is the founder of and head coach at VNCO Coaching, where she champions leaders to achieve legacy level thinking. She's currently launching a pilot program to help mid-career women stop playing small and step into their greatness. Prior to coaching, Vanessa gained extensive business and leadership experience at startups, design agencies, and cultural organizations, where she developed environments to purposefully engage client, donor, and employee communities. She lives with her husband in Brooklyn, New York, where she finds inspiration in the good things in life and in #salad art. I've been dying to say this. Vanessa and Leah, welcome to the call.
Thanks, love how you said that.
Having us.
Absolutely. Ines, welcome. We're so happy that you're back into one of our conversations. Please feel free to jump in at any time. And ladies, I would love to start by asking you to share the program that you're launching. You both launching a program that's starting in October. So tell us a little bit about the program and tell us how you came up with the idea.
Leah, you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so my coaching group is called Making Peace, a body image coaching group. It's for women identified individuals who are 18 years and up, who are hoping to find peace and harmony with their physical body instead of what is all too common, trying to change it, tweak it, lose weight, you name it, the list goes on and on. I'm sure folks are familiar. So this group is about improving body image, which isn't necessarily looking in the mirror and liking what you see, which would be great. Why not? It's more about valuing who you are based on your personhood, what you value, your aspirations, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more to that, but that is at the heart of the program. It's 8 weeks long. We meet once a week. It begins October 1st. There might be some change of the date depending on, the timing. This is one of the things about getting a program started. And we meet online via Zoom. And I chose to do this group because I have been leading groups on this particular topic for many years, but in a different field. So my background is mental health, and I had done the work on body image as a mental health provider and done many groups, but I'd never done a coaching group. And I wanted to make sure that I was in fact offering a coaching group on this topic and not sort of resting in my wheelhouse and my prior training and background. So I learned a lot about how to appropriately, ethically, correctly offer a group coaching program at the HQ. And so I'm launching my second round of this coaching group in just a couple of weeks. So that's a bit of background on that.
So exciting. Thanks, Leah. How about you, Vanessa?
Yeah. Well, I loved hearing about Leah's because I feel like mine, and I'm glad we're both here because I feel like we have sort of opposite stories where I came from sort of the events and marketing world. And when I've been coaching for about 2 years, I started my practice last year. And when I started thinking about, who do I want to serve with this practice? I thought about women like me that had gone through a long career, that maybe were mid-career, midlife, had been thinking about what is it now that they really want to do? They've already kind of gotten their feet wet in life, but it's like, I feel like now is the sort of time where these feelings of, not only am I good, do I have the experience? Do I have what it takes? Do I need to go back to school? Kind of like this midlife crisis moment, but also, what do I really want to do? What do I want my legacy to be? What kind of impact do I want to make on the world? And I feel like with all of these different decisions, that was the kind of people that I'm thinking about serving. And the way the group program came up is that I ended up interviewing 100 women on imposter syndrome and self-confidence or lack thereof and how that shows up at work. And the group program came about because I was just genuinely excited and believing that part of the way that I was going to help these women is not so much I was going to tell them what to do, but I think building that community and having the situation normalize that actually these experiences we think are only happening to us are happening to all of us at the same time. And so that's what really inspired the program. And then it kind of took some steps of evolution after that, but that's kind of how it came from.
That's awesome. I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Vanessa. And I know, Leah, you have such a strong sense of community as well. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about building a group coaching program is actually normalizing, bringing people together, really realizing that actually we're not the only one going through whatever the program is about. Thank you both so much for that little bit of background. And I'd love, actually, Vanessa, you touched on that. I was going to ask you both, how did you validate the idea? Because one of the biggest mistakes that I see group coaches make is, or coaches in general, is like, oh, I'm deciding that I'm going to do a group program on this topic. And then they go and create it and spend a long time creating materials and prepping the marketing, and then people don't sign up. And so one of the things that we're really pushing at Group Coaching HQ is like, how do you validate your idea and make sure that this is something that people actually want? And in terms of marketing, how did you build your community so that you might have people who were interested before you created the whole program? So really a two-part question that will be helpful for, I'm sure, anyone who's watching.
Yes.
You want to go?
Go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay. Yeah, I can jump in because I feel like I want to validate Dom's idea that this is an important part of the program, because I had never thought of this before. Even though I had done this survey of 100 women, I hadn't tested the concept of a group coaching program. So I was like, do I even need to do that? But I will say, to validate that you're going to continue this, Dom, that was actually, I think, the most important thing that I did. And what I started to do, how I started to do it, was that I basically just started dropping hints in my emails. Like, I'm thinking about structuring a group program around this concept and this topic, these feelings that we all have in the fall. Would anyone be open to talking to me about it? I think I even put a 10% discount, like, if you talk to me for half an hour, I'll give you a 10% discount on this program that might not even exist in the fall. So I was like, nothing to lose there. And that was really where I started feeling the wind sort of be at my back, that I couldn't believe that people were actually talking to me about what they wanted, what they were excited about. So I was even surprised that I would get someone on the phone to say, they're like, oh, I can't wait for the program. I'm like, well, what exactly do you think this program is? And then I would be typing everything that they said, what they thought that they were looking for. And that, and I had men that I talked to, I had women that I talked to, and that really started to inform the structure and the goals of the program. But I think that this was such an essential step that if I would have skipped it, I don't think I would, I absolutely wouldn't have a program today.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a very different story, and I hope that that'll be useful for folks who are coming at it from a different angle. I think the validation that emerged for me was listening to my community in a deep way. So because people in my network knew that I had in the past run body image types of groups, every so often someone would write me an email. Are you running a group? Are you running a group now? Oh, do you still do a group? Right. And I had actually been working on a different group topic entirely, admittedly, when these emails were coming in. I wanted to do a group about folks who are relocating, because that's something that personally is relevant in my life. But then I just sort of paused and I did the listening. And what my community was saying is, we need a body image group. And my suspicion was that it would matter kind of less whether if it was a therapy body image group or a coaching body image group, because the topic was really, really salient. And that's in fact how it went. I, translated the work that I had done into a true coaching framework. I came up with the language to describe exactly what I would be delivering. And I announced it. I put it out there. I dove in. I let everyone in my life know that I was going to be doing this. And, the listening paid off in that sense, because people started to ask questions and trickle in, and folks would mention, I have someone for you, and such has been waiting for this. So, for me, it all began just really heeding the requests and questioning of my existing networks. And here we are. So you can get a lot by doing very little, in a sense. I don't want to say that as a way like to say, don't do anything, right? Like that's kind of a slippery slope, but like slow down and notice and listen. And I think a lot can come from that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Leah. It's really interesting how the two approaches, and Leah, I'm sure you've spent a lot of time building that community in the past. And I think I really want to highlight that, because for many coaches who are starting to do group work, it takes time to build the community. And it's not a question of building the community by having a million Instagram followers. It's a question of building the community by talking to people, by building relationships, by creating those links and those connections, and that takes time.
Yep.
So I wanted to acknowledge that. The second thing I wanted to highlight that I think you both hit that's really interesting to me is language. Vanessa, you were saying that you took notes of everything that people said to you, and Leah, you mentioned that you listened very carefully to the language that people were using. And I think that's a really great way to get to the heart of what people want for your marketing, your marketing materials. You reuse the language that you've heard from the people who've talked about it. At the end of the day, that's going to be really, really helpful. So I love that. And I can't stress enough that sense of validation before you go and create everything. Validate your idea, make sure that it's something that people actually want, and then start to think about creating it. We talk at Group Coaching HQ, we talk about the group's journey, and that begins way before the group actually meets. It begins from that conception point, and it continues way after the group has actually met. So we'd love to get into what we really are thinking about tonight, which is the courage to start a new group. And Leah, I know you had talked about, well, what does being courageous mean in this context? And so I'd love for both of you to share, like, how did you find the courage, and what did in your context, because it is different for everyone, what did finding the courage to put it out there mean for you?
Leah, why don't you take this one first?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just written some notes to Dom and Vanessa and Maribel about this. So I was thinking of courage in terms of having the self-assurance to take risks. And I was thinking about what helps me to feel that way. And it's a combination of having experiences and skill building. So I thought about, well, when in my past have I led groups? And I came up with lots of examples, even though they were not coaching groups per se. I joined the HQ to get a lot of skills and training and learning, right? Then I thought about having the experience doing the actual coaching. So that's, again, I looked at other areas where I'd led any types of groups. I'm thinking about those experiences. And through the HQ, I got experience coaching people and I got group coached by others, right? It was an experiential learning curve that for me is especially useful with my learning style. And support was the final and maybe most important piece, right? To find the assurance to take the risk. And that was feedback primarily from my peers in the HQ, because it's a very unique opportunity to coach a small group and then get feedback from everyone. What worked, what didn't work, what could have been different. That interaction is very precious and unique. And it honestly made me feel very empowered and confident. And it also challenged me. Like I thought of some practical things I would have done differently. And between all of that, I felt like I could just dive in. And again, for me, the big step is always letting everybody know that I am doing this and then continuing to let people know I am doing this, right? Just putting the word out there and then continuing to put the word out there. So with all those different elements, I was like, I can send this first email blast and then just allow the rest of it to roll after that. Put it on the listservs and, however it is you get the word out there, whatever works for you. So once I kind of dove into the pool the first time and started swimming around, I was like, okay, I can take this swim. So that's how it unfolded for me. And now the second round has been the same, but a little bit easier. So I would imagine that's how it will go for folks on this call too, but you just jump in the first time.
I always say that.
Oh,
go ahead.
I left out maybe the other most important thing other than support is part of courage is tapping into what you are passionate about. So when I feel connected to what I'm passionate about, when I know that I'm attached to my purpose, I get excited. And that was a really big part of the momentum and the courage just to want to put it out there to folks. And we need everyone's group is something that I'm thinking about right now as folks are on this call.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I love that sentence. We need everyone's group. So if you're on this call, watching this call, thinking about creating a group program, go ahead and find the courage, take the plunge and create it. We do need everyone's group. Thank you, Leah. Go ahead, Vanessa. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, Leah just said it so beautifully that I feel like that all of what she said really resonated with me. And I think for me, the hardest part was actually probably making the commitment to join your group, Dom, because I think that was the place where I felt I was probably the delta between what I wanted and did I think it was possible was the largest. And, when I was thinking about, as I developed my coaching practice, I'm like, what do I want this to look like? And I thought that group coaching would be something that I would want to have in it. But that is not, I don't have a huge background in bringing people together and being sort of the person at the front of the room. And so I thought, well, this is pretty scary. Like, this is very different from the reason I got into coaching, which was sort of this like beautiful, personal, authentic and vulnerable conversation you can have one-on-one. And how do you possibly create that when you are in a larger group? And having seen your demo for ICF, Dom, I was like, well, that's how you do it. And so when your program came up, there was no doubt in my mind that this was the style of coaching, of group coaching that I wanted to bring to it, because it's so evocative. It's so vulnerable and authentic. People are really learning and sharing and growing from one another, that I thought, okay, if I had that piece of the puzzle, would I be a little more courageous? Would I be a little bit more brave? And that's what I was looking for when I joined the program. And I guess I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think just getting all of the tactics and sort of the logistics and setting up, the group, how to prepare for the group dynamics, the curriculum, the group journey, all of that. I hadn't really been thinking about it that way. But and I think this is where, what Leah said came in. That's when I started to get excited. That's when I started to think, oh my gosh, I could really make something out of this. And when I got to the validation stage, which I wouldn't have even thought of had I not gone to the group, when I heard people responding, I got more excited. I thought, this really is something I want to do. People are responding to it. And there was something about that synergy that, like, I think by the second call that I had with someone, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually going to happen. And so these little sprints, I think, of putting it out there, kind of just saying, I'm thinking about doing this program in the fall. Who would talk to me about it? Starting there, that sprint went well. So it's like, okay, I'm starting a program in the fall. Here's a little bit about it. And then it was like, that seemed to go well. And so sort of like I committed myself in small ways, not really knowing that it was going to end up happening until pretty much the end here. And so, yeah, so I don't know if that's helpful, but I think there was a lot of commonalities there between what Leah said and what I was thinking.
I am 100% sure that's helpful, Vanessa. There's no question about it. I think hearing someone else's process is always incredibly helpful. And I think that's part of, again, creating community, right? It's sharing experiences, knowing that you had no idea you were really going to do it and how the fire actually came. And I want to pick up on something you said there, Vanessa, which is, I thought I'm not used to, or I wasn't used to being the person in front of the room. And I think that's a fear that a lot of coaches, Leah, I'm sure therapists too, when they first start doing group therapy, fear is like, oh, people are coming for me and people are coming to learn from me. And I need to be this all magnificent being who is going to teach and educate everybody. But actually, one of the things that I think is extremely important in group coaching is that it's not about you, it's about the group. It's about every single member of the group bringing their experience, sharing their experiences, asking each other questions, because they're going through similar situations in their lives. They have similar questions, and asking someone else allows them to have perspective on their situation. And so I think as coaches, we might go in thinking, oh, I have to be at the front of the room. But actually, what you need to do as a coach is create the container for other people to be in the room. Yeah, I wanted to pick up on that because I think it's such an important point.
But that's another piece. I think that's also scary, Dom, is unlike one-on-one coaching where the client is bringing the content, the client brings all of what you're going to talk about. In group coaching, there's a dance between the two. So there's definitely more preparation, and there's definitely a stake in the ground that the coach has to put out there, which is also a little bit scary. So I will say I think absolutely being in front of the room and then being the one delivering to some extent, and not all, because you're right, it's not about me, it's about, and it's not even about the content, it's about what the participants are going to be bringing. But I think those were big, both, fears of mine, is who am I to, suggest we should be talking about A, B, and C, and why am I the one that's in front of the group? How am I really an expert on humanity and human nature and, playing big in the world, or however I'm putting it. So yeah, I just wanted to echo what you're saying there.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Reminding everyone that Vanessa's group is about imposter syndrome. So all the questions. I would love to take a minute. We have a few people on the call. I'd love to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions also, because I'm sure a lot of questions, a lot of ideas have come up. So if anyone would like to ask a question, share a comment, please feel free to unmute yourself. Go ahead, Ines.
Well, I want to thank both of you for sharing your stories. It's been very, very helpful. And it gave me a couple aha moments and things that I need to think about, because I want to start a group coaching offering, and I wanted to do it as soon as I could. But I think that, you know, I think as Vanessa said, she hadn't done it before. Well, I did it internally for IBM. So I led multiple group coaching sessions and built a safe environment for people to share ideas. And I would come in as sort of the facilitator and do a little bit of coaching at the beginning just to get everybody warmed up, and then just sit back and watch them coach one another and maybe do breakouts and that kind of thing. So I love this. I love it. But the thing is, and I heard you guys, I put it out on LinkedIn and I said, I want to start this group coaching offering, and just to see the interest. And I got like, I don't know, 100 or so folks going, go ahead, Inez, do it. You can do this. You've done it before, blah, blah, blah. It was great. But then I'm stuck, you know, where are the clients? So it's and then when I love this type of conversation because you guys have done it, and I love hearing how you found some great benefit in going through a program like Dom has. My problem is I need to make some money, and if I gotta spend more money, then I gotta think about Vanessa, you said, you know, you were sort of challenged about joining the program, and I that's what I need to think about. And then if I join the program, then I need to put my offering on hold till I finish the program, so I can use anything additional that I learned. So I'm sort of, I don't know, I don't know where I am right now. But I love this conversation. This has been very helpful.
Well, I followed sort of the build the plane while flying it approach. I got started while halfway through the program, building my plane. That it was, the ideas were coming to me, the concept of how I was going to validate, you know, my offer, all of that started probably in the middle of the program. And by the time the program was done, I was pretty sure it was going to run.
Well, see, I got project management background, so I've already written up the description and what I want to deliver and how I want to deliver it. Now, I've got that all written up. But the thing is, I like what you guys said, finding out exactly what the audience wants. And so the approach I wanted to take with that is, as people tell me they're interested, I ask them to set up a discovery call and get them on the phone, talk about what they would like to see in the program, and then I can customize it based on the interest that I'm getting. So that's why I'm kind of stuck. I need people to come in and say, this is why I would want to be in group coaching. This is what I need, rather than me just writing something, guessing what they need.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Inez. And I really resonate with the feeling of, oh yeah, like I've experienced doing groups, but there's some kind of a gap that you may want to close kind of between the experience that you've had and running an independent, you know, group coaching in your own business. And I think that this program is designed in such a way where whatever gap it is you're looking to kind of bridge, you get that out of the program, because that's what you're interested in. That's what you're, you know, like sort of screening for and looking for and thinking about as you're collaborating with other group coaches, as you're getting group coaching experience, as you're learning the tools. So it's like, you know, I felt like there was a bit of a missing piece for me to just really step into my full confidence, to just, you know, put it out there and run it. And that's the missing piece that I got from the program. And I really don't feel that missing piece anymore. I feel quite whole. I mean, it's, you know, not perfect, nothing is, but it really filled that in. And I also resonate with what you said, Vanessa, where I was already running my first round. It was a small group, but I was running it, you know, I didn't have that many people. And I was already using prompts and tools that I was learning in the, you know, from the training in my group, in my sort of the equivalent of the pilot. So this whole getting the training as you're lifting off that's totally what I was doing. Sounds like that's what Vanessa was doing. And if that speaks to you, Inez, or anyone listening, like, yeah, go for it. That's absolutely possible. It's not really a delay. It's actually it's actually like building up a lot of momentum towards making it lift off is how I experienced it.
Thanks, Vanessa. And Leah, is it Ines?
Mhm.
I just suddenly realized if you pronounced it that
That's
way
no
earlier.
problem.
I also want to really acknowledge you. Thank you for bringing up the making money issue, because I think it's something that as coaches, like, we've all been through, and especially when we're moving from being an internal coach to really moving to our own business, and it's such an important aspect of feeling safe. And if we're not feeling safe, it's really hard to go and be creative. So really want to acknowledge that. And perhaps some ways, and thank you, Vanessa and Leah, for praising the program so much, but perhaps, there are other ways outside of the program that are helpful. So when I first started doing group coaching, I would do one-off sessions, and I would invite, and I would have people pay what they could, and I would say, minimum $10 donation or something like that, so that there would be a little bit of money coming in, and I would get some practice as well. So I would do open sessions. So maybe that's an idea as well for anyone who's listening and who's not ready to do, whether it's our program or any others, but that would like to create some group coaching opportunities. But I do invite everyone to charge for these sessions, just because, as we all know, anything that's free is perceived in a very different way. But that I wanted to give that idea as well as a possibility. The other thing that I think sometimes people are reluctant to commit to a program that might be a little longer, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And so if there is an idea that you have validated, that is a great idea, perhaps trying to do it in a different format, as a workshop, as a 2-day retreat or something like that, might be helpful as well, just because there isn't that sense of commitment that people would need to make for a long-term coaching program. And the last thing I wanted to pick up on, Ines, on what you shared is for validation, why not ask people around you for these conversations? And this is not about gaining clients or people who might become a group coaching client, but it's really framing it as, this is something I'm researching and I would love your opinion on it. And you'll find that actually helping people dig into themselves is always helpful, as we know as coaches, but you'll be surprised what might come up. And then at the end of the conversation saying, hey, do you know anyone else who might be interested in talking to me about this? So that you're also starting to build a few more people on your, and I would advise you to have an email list so that these people can be on your list. The other thing that I advise everyone to do, is my favorite marketing strategy to get a good list started, is to create a survey and send it out to as many people as possible, and share it, and ask people that to share it with people who might be interested. And I try to make it not too long, but long enough that you get the information that you need, but also ask at the end, is it okay for me to would you like to be added to a list? Or you might ask a question like, I'm thinking about building a program, would you like to know about this program when it's live? And that way, if people say yes, you get their email address and you can start building your community as well, which I think is really important. I'll stop talking now. Any other questions? I know we have a couple of people who are not on camera. Feel free to type questions in the chat, or to come on camera if you'd like to. And if not, I have a few more questions, Vanessa and Leah, for you. All right, well, if anyone would like to join in, just ask the questions at any time. So I'd love to ask you, what made you decide, or how did you decide on the structure for your program? Because group programs can be so many different things. Some people choose to do a little bit of asynchronous learning, so they might share a little bit of content through videos. Some people choose to do everything in person or on Zoom virtually, but synchronously. So I'm wondering how you chose the structure, the cadence for your program, the length of your sessions, all the things, everything that pertains to structure.
I'll speak to that briefly. So I did a similar, so to come up with that, I did a similar combination of what I mentioned before. I asked myself, what has worked for me in the past? Like, what kinds of structures have I led before? And yeah, what was valuable about it? Would I have changed anything? I also asked myself, what kind of structure do I want and would work for my life? But the most valuable was experiencing the structure of the group coaching HQ, because we had 12 weeks. We had, 2 hours once a week for 12 weeks. It was a full comprehensive structure. So when it was over, I got to say, okay, how was that for me? What worked for me? What didn't? What do I imagine might fit or not for my clients? So again, the experience of being immersed in group coaching, yourself as a coach, gives so much information. And that helped me to decide how many weeks, what cadence, how many minutes per group. I just learned a lot from doing and from participating and thinking through past group experiences. And then I think you learn the most from running it the first time. So your pilot is like, you're going to learn so much from that, and it's very exciting, and you're likely to make changes after, and that's great. So, round one, I did 6 weeks and I did it for 75 minutes, and I learned that was too short for the purposes of what I'm doing. So now I run it for 8 weeks for 90 minutes, and maybe I'll change it again down the line. And that's how I've been doing it so far.
Amazing. Thank you. You highlighted the word pilot. Vanessa, can you, in addition to talking to structure, explain why you chose to start your program as a pilot?
Well, I think Leah, again, beautifully spoken. I think I just intuited what Leah was saying, which is I'm not really going to know how to do this until I've done it once. And that's sort of the building the plane while you're flying it model, the sort of startup model of doing it. And, I know I'm going to learn a lot. I would agree with Leah without this sounding like an infomercial. I learned a lot from experiencing what it was like to be in the program. And I also had that push and pull of, I couldn't imagine signing up as someone, in my past life, as someone that worked in a corporate lifestyle, to be signing up for something 2 hours a week. And yet, having experienced the group coaching HQ program, I recognized 60 minutes was absolutely not going to do it. So I landed halfway, 90 minutes. I really thought about, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm going to do this in the fall. And what does the fall mean to me? I think I need to get this done before the holidays. So I just kind of instead of this time thinking what's going to work for the program, I thought, what is going to work for life? And I just thought, okay, somewhere between October and before Thanksgiving, I just need to get this all done. There's 7 weeks. I think I'll program 6 of those 7 weeks. So I do think, similar to what's happened with Leah after her pilot, that I think I will end up having a different number. But right now I'm sort of sticking with 6 because it sort of seems like, I feel like it will be too short, but I think it also kind of takes a little pressure off me. What else? I think just using the word pilot takes the pressure off me. So every conversation I've had, I priced this slightly lower than if I had done it 3 times, obviously. I'm mentioning that in exchange for this low pilot program price, I'm asking for feedback. I might be changing things along the way. I haven't used the I'm flying the plane while I'm building an analogy, but I'm basically there. That's I am making sure that is clear and completely understood, that this is the first time I'm running it, that we're going to be growing this together in some ways. So all of that is helping me take the pressure off. And there's something kind of cool and sexy about having a pilot, being the first people to go through a program that I'm recognizing that folks like. And there's also the low cost, I think, appeal of that is definitely getting to people. And then when I started designing my content, I recognized that I really want this to be a transformational journey, both as a group and as individuals. And when I thought about it that way, it also occurred to me that I should, and I'm testing this too, like everything, I'm adding 2 asynchronistically scheduled one-on-one coaching sessions with me. So people can schedule them with me whenever they want during the duration of the program or after. And I'm really doing that to kind of facilitate further personal growth on the specific topics that the participants are bringing to the program. So whether they want to work on their next promotion or starting as a new entrepreneur, that we have time just to work on that, as well as getting that sort of group camaraderie and normalization of what's happening.
Go ahead.
Is it too personal to ask how much you guys are charging for your programs?
No, it's on my website, but it's $500, $500. And I was so silly. I should have just priced it at $495. That's like,
oh yeah,
that was the pilot nature of it. I was just like,
everything I read says always in with the 7, so it should be $497.
Yeah. But I that was definitely a question I asked people during my market research phase. Like, what's the number that you would absolutely do this for? And what's the number that you think this would cost if I was an expert in doing it? And and then I thought, what's the minimum number I need to make this work for me, as opposed to other things I could be doing that might be making me a similar or higher amount of money? How much of this is an investment in this program's future? So there was definitely some math, but then just some like gut feeling that, 500 sound like a nice round number, but 495 would have been smarter.
Hi, everyone. I turned on my video because I finally got myself together after the gym, but I was listening to all of you, and thank you so much for sharing everything you've been doing in terms of your program. It's so inspiring. I first thought I was going to work with entrepreneurs and founders, and I thought, oh my gosh, who's going to have the time for this? Because I was an entrepreneur and I'm trying to. That's basically what I do. It was business coaching. So I thought I want to support all these women-owned businesses and sort of help them not run it by the seat of their pants like I did half the time with my business partner. But I was really concerned about the time that people could spend. So my one question is, is that part of your program, Dom, to, sort of, I know you obviously will, do address that, but and to Inez, who I totally related to in terms of marketing, is that part of the program as well? Like how to actually market your group offering? Because I think, even when I went through the NYU program, to become a coach, I thought that was the biggest challenge once I graduated from the program, and a lot of us felt the same. It was like 2 or 3 years, trying to just do a lot of one-on-one coaching, any kind of coaching. So you kind of want to be, sort of directed a little bit more in terms of that marketing and how can you find this audience and secure it. Where they want to not only come once, but maybe, tell other people and come again.
Let me talk to that. I'll be very quick because I know we're at time and I want to respect everyone's time.
Sorry about that.
I also, Leah, if you don't mind answering Anis's question, I would love for you to answer, and then I will answer your question, Stacey.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my program is $125 per group. So that's $1,000 for the full program. And I have a sliding scale rate, which is $100 per group. So that would be $800. And I accept payment by installment for my group. I do not ask people to pay the full amount up front. I charge them per month. So it's basically 2 installments. And if someone was a great fit and needed a different plan, I would accommodate that. I got some information about what other group coaches charge. I thought about what I charged in the past as a therapist. And I thought about how much energy I get coaching a group, how much shorter it is, and then how much money I make in that time. And for me as a person, it pays off financially, but on a personal level in a big way because of what folks get out of it. There's something about balancing out the back-to-back individual work, which is what my week looks like, with a group that re-energizes me on a level that is just, it just fills me with so much joy. So I felt like that came into my pricing somehow, what do I want my Friday to look like?
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Thanks,
well,
Leah.
thank you.
Thank you. I am gonna answer Stacey's question, and then I'm gonna let everyone go. And please, if you need to go, absolutely. I know we are at time. I also wanted to add, Ines, we have a video on the website under resources around that's about how to price your program. So feel free to watch that. And we have one with Jason Van Orden, who is our marketing expert for Group Coaching HQ. We did a conversation with him, which was really, really helpful. And actually, Stacey, that addresses your question in that we have, in addition to the 12 group sessions, we have a couple of extra sessions as well, one with Jason and one with Michael Roderick around branding. We also, in the actual sessions, when we're thinking about the group's journey and beginning the process of validation, of thinking about the idea, we also share some ideas on marketing the groups. I have to say, and I noted earlier, Leah mentioned that her community reached out to her, and I think it's the biggest thing is we're not gonna lie to you. We're not gonna say, we'll bring you all the clients, because we won't. At the end of the day, it's about building community, and that does take some time. So I do want to make that very clear. We cover marketing, but we can't guarantee that by the end of the program you will have a bunch of people signing up. We are at time. I'm gonna say a big thank you, Vanessa and Leah, for sharing your stories, sharing your learnings, your insights. It's incredibly helpful for others to hear stories. So thank you both so much. I am sharing Leah and Vanessa's programs in the chat so that everyone can be inspired and take a look. With regards to Group Coaching HQ, we have a Ask Us Anything call, I think this Thursday on the 23rd. So if anyone has any more questions about group coaching, whatever they are, feel free to join us. We have a bunch more events coming up, and we have our fall cohort starting mid-October. All the links are in the chat. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to those who were not on camera. We really appreciate you being here tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dom. Thanks, Leah.
thanks everyone.
everybody.
Run your
Bye.
group. Bye.
Yeah,
Run your group.
we need
Bye.
all the groups. Bye.
Bye.